And it's all because of rights fees. So when I buy that $20 a pound meat, which I don't.
Hey guys, welcome in. Sorry, Raj.
Okay.
I thought we were done, so I hit start, and then
No, go.
we were lamenting the cost of meat and rights fees for music and things. Just the stupid cost of everything. Everything is going up right now, and so it's you get two guys together and drinking coffee and like, the price of beans, it goes up. I noticed that the coffee that I buy went up $1 a bag, which I thought was kind of a lot because it's just a small bag. It's like I can't think of the name of it now. Caribou coffee. You can't buy it in a big tin or anything. It comes in a little bag. I'm even grinding the beans myself, man. You don't even have to grind them for me. Is that really an extra $1 a bag? But yeah, life goes on, I guess. All right, we're going to give everybody a couple minutes to get connected, and let me check my audio levels because I didn't check those because I was talking to Roger. They're a little quiet. Oh no, they're all right if I project. So let me. There we go. We'll just turn them up just a tad, just to make sure that everybody can hear me and that my throat doesn't go raw from yelling and screaming. All right, good to have you, Richard. Mitch, welcome in. Carolyn, good to see you. Deborah, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. All righty. Cheryl and Rich are here. Karen and Roger are back. There you are. Yeah, Mark, I'm sorry. We were talking. Okay, so apparently I didn't realize that I kind of dropped like a breaking news bomb right in the last minutes of Compute This. Roger looked at me and he's like, there's a strike at BNSF. And I was like, it's coming, yeah. And he had no idea. Compute this breaking news on a news talk station, that doesn't happen very often, I guess. I was like, oh, you guys don't know about that? Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I'll fill you guys in on it, too, just so you know. Guten Morgen, Brad. Aaron's back. Ricky's here. There you are. Okay. So basically, I have a relative that works for BNSF. I have several relatives, actually, that work for BNSF. And basically, they're all union. Everybody that works there is union. And so they're all unionized. And the union has negotiated, over the years, several different contract things. Some of those things are like time off to attend funerals of family members, paid vacation days, sick days to take care of family, things like that. Like every other industry, the railroad industry right now is having a staffing crisis. Like every other industry right now, there is an unprecedented demand for their service. For them, more so than others, they're moving a lot of the containers, that are backing up in ports, and they're getting them across the country where they need to go. So BNSF came out unilaterally with a policy that assigned a point value to individuals who take days off. Now remember, these are allotted sick days. These are days that you are entitled to have with your employment at BNSF. But if you choose to exercise those days, you will be docked points in this point system. And the next time you come up for a review, the number of points you've used will be taken into account in your pay increase decisions. So and then, of course, the insult to injury, they spun it as an incentive. We're incentivizing our employees. I mean, I can incentivize my children with a cattle prod, but they don't call it incentivizing. It's the same thing. It was just corporate doublespeak to make it sound like it was a good thing. This is what everyone's doing in the industry. Nobody else is doing that in the industry. It was clearly a punitive, don't take a day off, we need you on the job thing. So there are ways you can do this in a way that's like positive, but I don't know what their margins look like. I don't know what the other constraints were. I'm not going to be super critical of management trying to keep people on the job. But what I am going to point out is that yesterday, the BNSF union took a poll of union workers asking them if they want to strike. This particular family member that talked to me said, hey, we might have to be cutting back a little bit on going out and stuff like that because, my husband may be on strike. And basically, the way that this usually goes in the past is it's usually pretty unanimous or it's usually pretty much nothing. So the fact that they're taking a vote of the employees and the punitive nature of the policy change, the way it was enacted. It's actually, the union says it's a violation of the collective bargaining agreement. It sounds like a lot of blood is up. So the one thing that we really, really, really don't need right now from a logistical perspective is a strike on a railroad where a railroad stops. That would be real bad. So anyway, this is Warren Buffett's railroad. So anyway, it's just something to keep your eye on. I did a quick Google search, or a duck search actually, for it, so I could see all the results. And there was no major news organizations anywhere reporting this yet. I found 2 different union trade journals reporting on it, but that was it. So this has not hit the news yet. So this is tradable news on Monday for those of you who are looking at BNSF stock, I guess. But you heard it first on Compute This. See what happens. All righty. Let's go up here and take a look at these comments. Thank you, Winston, for the audio check. Appreciate it. Good to have you, Roger. Paul's back. Oh, like Randy, it says back again with a TikTok hack. I'm like, Randy? He said it's a plate of cinnamon bun waffles. I'm like, oh, I'll take that. That's a win. All right, all of the oil from the tar sands in Canada rides on BNSF instead of the pipeline that was canceled. You know, I forgot about that. That's right. Warren Buffett was very much opposed to the pipeline. I can't think of the name, the Keystone Pipeline, because if you don't move it with a pipeline, you got to move it with a railroad. And so, yeah, BNSF moves a lot of oil. So we're looking at gas prices potentially. We're looking at stupid things that are going to kink the supply chain, like the movement of empty containers. China has a shortage of empty containers right now because they're all here, or they're all on boats offshore. And we can't get them loaded onto boats fast enough to get them back to China. And now if they get back to China, the ports are closed. So they're just going to sit outside of China again. Could you imagine being like one of the people that works on one of these boats? I mean, you better bring a lot of reading material with you for real. I mean, it's going to be a long, long shift. So yeah, it's, you know, there, I don't know, my father-in-law, when he was a boy in Illinois, he and his brothers would play a game where one of them would have a bow and arrow, and they would stand in a circle, and the guy with the bow and arrow would shoot the arrow straight up in the air, and you won if you were the last person to leave the circle. So you didn't know where that arrow was coming down, but if you stayed, you won, and if you left the circle, you lost. And there was only one winner every time, and I don't think anyone ever got a major injury. Somebody took one in the foot once, I think, but but it's like this. The whole nation with the supply chain is playing a giant game of shoot the arrow up in the air and see if it comes down on anybody. Except instead of having just a circle of boys and a bunch of empty ground in the middle, there's tons of stuff. It's guaranteed to hit something. And we were just talking about prices of meat being increased. Where's my camera? A little jacked up there. Prices of, now I might be shooting my stomach. I have to wait for the 15-second or whatever delay here to see if I've aimed the camera properly. There we go. The meat prices are nuts. My wife and I went to Hy-Vee the other day, and she wanted to do salmon for dinner one night. And we knew it was going to be kind of expensive. We got 4 fillets. We didn't know if my mother-in-law was going to be over or not. My son won't eat it, so he ain't going to get it. It's good stuff. And it was like $57 for 4 salmon fillets. And I mean, I was like, that was the first thing I beeped. It was like, you're breaking the seal at the register. I'm beeping, she's bagging. I'm like, because you check out your own groceries now, right? I'm not one of these. I'm not the old man that stands in the checkout line. Hey, dang! Automated checkout lines are taking the jobs. They're taking all the jobs. They can't find people to work the regular checkout lanes. Thank God we have the automated ones right now. But you got to check out and bag your groceries. I remember when I was a little kid, my mom always shopped at No Frills because there were no frills. You bagged your own groceries in a brown paper bag. And that was considered like how you saved money back in the day. Well, now you bag your own groceries every time you go to the grocery store. So, we're beeping. The first thing I beep, boop, $57 for salmon. And I was like, Grr. I mean, I love me some salmon, but like $57 is what I would expect to spend if I went out and had a chef prepare me the salmon with all the garnishments and maybe an appetizer and, you know, dessert maybe. I don't know. It depends. $57. Oh my goodness. All right. Whew, that was tough. Ground beef. Boop. 1 pound of ground beef. Oh, what the heck? Ooh, I like sloppy joes. They're good. Okay. Next thing, it was just like that throughout all the stuff. And it's the, everything's gone up a little bit. Some things have gone up a whole lot. And if you follow any of the financial news, you know that the consumer price index went up. I think it's like 7% year over year is the official rate of inflation as measured by the current calculation. The producer price index, which is what it costs businesses to make things, went up 9.9% annualized. So it's getting worse for producers, which means it's going to get worse for consumers. So unfortunately, Aaron kind of made a comment during the show, and I didn't take it personally, Aaron. It's like we charge what we have to charge because it costs us money to have people monitor stuff. And we understand that there are some people that just can't afford $70 a year for antivirus. Totally get it. There's nothing we can do about that, unfortunately, because that's what the cost is. And unfortunately, the cost of Sophos went up 20% on us this year. Why did the cost of Sophos go up 20%? They're not doing anything new or different. They're not protecting you any better than they were yesterday. The cost went up. So when you see retail sales are beating expectations, part of that is inflation. And the other thing that I heard on the news the other day that really made me think was that a lot of the inflation we're experiencing might actually be product substitution inflation. So my wife and I went to Walmart the other day. And while we were at Walmart, there's a particular kind of Tostitos that my 4-year-old loves. They're the Tostitos with a hint of lime. He won't eat regular Tostitos. He'll eat some Doritos and other stuff. And we don't feed him chips all the time, mind you. But when he asks for these Tostitos, he'll throw a 4-year-old temper tantrum if we don't have him around. So we try to keep a bag around. So if he asks for Tostitos, we can say, sure, buddy, here's some Tostitos, Because, any parent who's had a 4-year-old, there are some battles you fight and there are some battles you don't. And the Tostitos battle is not one you want to fight. Okay? You let that one go. The don't hit your sister battle, that's the one you want to fight. So, okay. Not only were there no hint of lime Tostitos, which it's a niche product in the Tostitos lineup. I get it. If it's gone, it's gone. Hy-Vee's been out for weeks. My wife finally found one at the Crossroads Target, which really, she had to go specifically to that Target to find these chips. So anyway, not only were there no hint of lime Tostitos on the shelf at Walmart, and this was a big Walmart. It wasn't one of the neighborhood Walmarts. There were no Tostitos chips at all on the shelf. Not a single tortilla chip. Not only were there no Tostitos tortilla chips on the shelf, there were no tortilla chips on the shelf of any brand. So my wife said, well, maybe they have the Mexican food aisle, like the beans and rice and stuff. Maybe they have like a display of them there. Maybe there was some hidden over there. So, we walked through that aisle and there's like the custom tortilla, chips in the Hispanic foods aisle. But they're way more expensive per bag than a bag of Tostitos. And they're smaller too. The size of the bag is smaller. Which was what this guy was pointing out on television the other day. He said a lot of the inflation we're seeing is product substitution inflation. People are paying more because they're buying products because the cheap products are sold out. They're buying more expensive alternatives because they need to have the tortilla chips for the soup recipe that day, or for whatever they're doing. So some of the inflation can be accounted for there as well. And I don't know. I guess there's enough doom and gloom in the world to power everybody's engine who wants to live on that. I used to get really bent out of shape about this kind of stuff and really, really excitable, very, very animated, like I could do something about it. And there's nothing you can do about it, right? And there's no way you can hide from it because the price of everything is going up. It's the debasement of the currency. There is nothing you can do to avoid it. You grumble about it and you complain about it, but at the end of the day, you're going to take it, and then maybe you'll do something different. And I think we're beyond voting for somebody different at this point. Like, people are going to make decisions. They're going to change the decisions they make. Maybe, we don't have tortilla chips in the house anymore. Erin was talking about the cost of things going up, and I asked her, well, what is affordable now on an SSI income? And she said, not much. I'm like, you're absolutely right, not much. And then she went down a list of things that she normally buys that are up in price. So it doesn't matter where you shop or how you shop, or, you can go from store to store because, bacon is $1 cheaper a pound at Family Fare than it is at Hy-Vee. But you're going to spend some gas money to get there, and then you're going to give that dollar back at the pump. So there's just no way to avoid it, right? Aside from, maybe you go on a diet this year. Well, I could lose a few, that's for sure. Maybe I don't need any tortilla chips or pastries or candies or anything, and let the price go up. Then it just makes it worse, because then when you do go back and buy one, and the price, you have like an annualized price change. Like, imagine you went back 1 year in time and you filled up your tank of gas, and you used that entire tank of gas to travel 1 year into the future, and then you filled up your tank again. You're going to be like, son of a biscuit, that's expensive. Now, we might still say, son of a biscuit, like, oh, that hurts. But we're used to it now, right? Because it didn't double or go up 70% overnight. It went up slowly. So you don't notice that. But the problem with inflation is it's compounded. So the price increases that we're seeing now are going to become normalized. And once they're normalized, they're not going to go away. And then the next year's inflation, let's assume they get it down to 2%, which is where they want it, will be a 2% inflation on top of a 10% inflation. And then 2% on that next year and next year and next year. So nothing makes sense. I talked about this last week. Nothing in the financial markets makes sense. Interest rates are going up. Stocks went up. Bonds went down. What is going on? The yield is up. Stocks go down. Bonds go up. The next day the yield is down. And you're like, it's like a schizophrenic market. Nobody really believes that the Fed is going to pull the spike from the Kool-Aid bowl here. But they have to. I mean, if they don't, that's a whole nother series of problems that I don't think we want to go down the line. So do you want the short-term pain or the long-term pain? Or are we actually facing a choice of, do you want long-term pain or long-term pain? So anyway, that's one of the reasons, guys, that I get involved in things like cryptocurrencies. I was thinking about this morning when I was getting ready for the show. And I remembered a line that I used where I said, cryptocurrencies are either going to be the biggest opportunity for financial wealth creation that we've seen in a generation, or they're going to be the biggest tulip bulb rush you've ever seen. One or the other, right? And there are certainly some tulip bulbs among the cryptos. I'll be the first to admit that. There are some junk coins out there. But your biggies, are they actually investable? Are they actually a safe haven? Well, people will point out that Bitcoin has dropped a ton of value right now, and other people would point out, well, Bitcoin is still up double over the previous year. So, I mean, sorry, it wasn't up 200%, I guess. It should have only been up 100%, There are still people saying that Bitcoin's going to hit, $100,000 this year. There's also people saying it'll hit 10,000. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to happen. So in these situations, I find myself anxious because I'm the personality type. You can put any challenge in front of me, any dire circumstance, and this is, I think, one of the things that has made Schrock successful over the years, because there's been some pretty lean times over the years. But you put a problem in front of me, and as long as I have a plan in my head of steps that need to be accomplished to exit the problem or solve the problem or improve the situation, give me that list of steps and I will execute that list of steps. If I don't have a plan, if I'm just blindly blundering through my day, hoping things will get better, that actually gives me a lot of anxiety. So I need a plan. How do you make a plan in this environment? You can't cover all the bases at one time. You can't really bet big because the odds of getting crushed are astronomical if you do. Do you put it all in Bitcoin? Do you put it all in bonds? Do you put it all in tech? What do you do? Small caps? Oh, Omicron. Oh, that was supposed to be the recovery there. I got pinched on that one. So I am choosing to go back to fundamentals. Fundamental, old school stuff that has always worked in the past, previous 10 years excluded, that has a reasonable expectation of working in the future. So, in other words, I think we all agree that the price of things is going to go up from here. Okay? That means revenues are going to be up, which means profits as a number are going to be up for companies. So even if it's the same net profit after inflation, the number will be bigger, so therefore the multiples, you get it if you're an investor, right? So if profits are going to go up because the dollar is losing value rapidly, and we have an inflation problem because the dollar is losing value rapidly, it makes sense to have some money in stocks. Do I have money in bonds? I'm sorry, but even if the bond rate goes to 3%, which there's some statistics that I've read that said that the Fed can't possibly raise it over 2.8. At 2.8, they hit a hard wall where any additional increase in interest rate will cause a corresponding decrease in productivity, and therefore you'll get that stagflation. So 2.8 is kind of the ceiling. Call it 3. Are you happy with a 3% return on your money in an inflationary environment? I mean, I'm 45 years old. I'm not happy with that. I'm losing ground at that point. I need something that's going to make 9, 10, 12% interest to counter what is actually closer to an 11% interest or inflation rate. If you measure CPI the same way they measured it in 1982, everyone says this is the biggest inflation since 1982. As measured in 1982 versus as measured now. If you measure inflation now the same way they measured it in 1982, it's 15%, 11%. It's crazy. So, and we all feel it. We all feel it. We know it's not. We know there's something not right. So, fundamentals. I'm going to diversify. I'm going to spread everything out among different investment classes. I know I'm going to take some losses in some areas, but I'm hoping that the winners will offset the losses. And then I know I need to onload risk, but I have to onload risk that I understand. So you can't just go blindly buying tech companies. So here's your stock tip. Microsoft looks really good this year. Not because I'm a stock investor, and if you take your stock advice from the computer repair guy, you deserve the outcome you get. But there's a story that didn't make it in today that Microsoft has hired the developer who made the M1 processor for Mac. The same guy that made that architecture is going to work for Microsoft now. Insiders believe this is going to be Microsoft's attempt to produce their own processors for their Azure data centers. So they won't have to buy processors from AMD or Intel anymore if they make their own. They hired the one guy that could probably do it. It takes him about 2 years to finish an architecture, go from chip to full architecture is normally how long it takes. So this is Microsoft saying we don't want to be reliant on the supply chain for our data centers anymore. We want to produce our own stuff. So therefore we need to come up with designs and build it. So 2 years out, Microsoft will have a significant drop in cost because they'll be making their own chips and they'll be completely non-reliant on the supply chain. Therefore, disruptions in supply chain won't impact their cloud like it will Amazon and other people. It's a pretty brazen move. So, I mean, there are still some stocks out there that you can go after if you want to do it, but this thought of making 20% on an individual stock in a year, I don't think that's, maybe there's a few unicorns out there always are, but as a rule, I mean, you could have a monkey throwing a dart at a dartboard last year and make money in the stock market. So I still managed to lose money in the stock market. So I'm telling you, don't take your advice from me. That's why I don't trade anymore. The crypto market is another one of those where there's going to be short-term pain. If you can't stomach a 40% drop in the value of crypto and still go to sleep at night like a baby, you don't need to be in crypto. So what I would suggest you do if you're interested in cryptocurrency is set up a recurring buy, something small that if you lost it, you're not going to cry or lose sleep over it. $25 a month, something small. Let that flow into your Coinbase account or wherever you decide to buy it. Gemini, I opened up a Gemini account. I finally got tired of the low interest rates at BlockFi. Excuse me. And so I opened a Gemini account to get a marginally better interest rate on my crypto that I'm holding. But buy and hold for long term, because while there are significant dips in the crypto market, big time downs, there are also big time ups. If you go back on the history of Bitcoin, and stock people do this all the time, if you look at the stock market over time, you'll see that this line goes straight up. Well, the same thing is true of the crypto market. So if you're investing in stocks because you believe that stocks always go up over time, crypto market's a safe place to be. Just don't get tied up in a bunch of these junk coins, the really cheap things, because that's like gambling money. So if you go into Floki and you buy $5,000 worth of Floki and it moves up, one thousandth of a penny, you make $1,800. Woohoo! Right? It could just as easily go down that much. So don't bet your life savings on that. But if you're going to buy some Bitcoin or some Ethereum, the objective is to buy it and then forget you have it. It's not like stock. You don't trade it. You don't manage it. You just put it in an interest-bearing account somewhere and you let it sit. Because fundamentals say limited supplies and increased demand always result in a higher price. If people for one reason or another decided to get out of the US dollar, which I heard a really interesting report on Fox Business the other day, was one of those oddball things that you never really pay attention to. The German 10-year bond is almost positive. That's right, almost. So right now you're still paying Germany for the privilege of letting them borrow your money, but it's about to go positive. And if that goes positive, a lot of German money is in U.S. treasuries right now because they're positive, and you can't get positive money in a German treasury. If that goes positive, people are going to flow back to the euro a little bit. It's going to weaken the U.S. dollar more. So if we have a weakening dollar and we can't seem to strengthen it because of inflation and the policies we have to enact to contain inflation, then, or the limitation of those policies, we can't enact them as fast as we need to because of other factors. You want to be in something that's going to go up too, right? So if people have euros, they're still going to use those euros to buy Bitcoin. If people have dollars, they're going to use dollars. If they have rubles, they're going to use rubles. If they have yuan, they're going to use yuan. They're going to buy Bitcoin. And Bitcoin has a limited supply. There's only going to be so much of it, and most of it has already been mined. And companies who bought are holding. So exchange supplies have been dwindling and dwindling. Everybody and the Bitcoin community is like, this is setting up to be an epic bull run to $70,000 to $100,000 in a very short period of time. Because once this starts taking off, people are going to want in, except there's no Bitcoin. So what does that do to the price? See what I'm saying? So I'm trying to diversify everything as much as I can to give myself the best possible chance of being in the right place at the right time. I don't see any other way. I'm open to suggestions. If any of you out there are financial advisors watching the show and laughing at me right now, totally, I'm right there with you. I don't know what I'm doing, but wow. If there was a time to hire a financial planner, if you actually thought that they knew anything more than, that's the problem. What's the financial planner going to do? Get me in and out at the right time? He's going to time the market? I can't time the market. I've tried. I'm not good at it. I don't know that anybody is really good at it. People get lucky sometimes, but maybe there's strategies where you do shorts and puts and calls and everything else, and I just don't know about those. Yeah, I'm open to suggestions. All right, let's jump into the comments here, see if there's anything you guys want to talk about real quick. Alrighty. Look at the increase of the barrel of oil. A lot of things are increasing, and there's lots of things increasing in cost coming. Yeah, unfortunately, I think you're right. I think things are going to get more expensive again, still continue to get more expensive. There's only a point. There's a point at which things will get to the point where they can't get more expensive because, like Aaron was pointing out, people just don't have the money. You just can't buy it. And when we hit that point, this is one of the things I was thinking about this week. Everyone talks about lifestyle, like quality of life, right? The quality of life is up. The quality of life is down. What exactly is the quality of life? Is the quality of life me being able to go to Walmart and find a bag of lime Tostitos? Is the quality of life me ordering a pickup truck in August of last year and still not having it? But I'm next in line for production, but I haven't been scheduled for production yet. Is quality of life being able to save money in a savings account and earn interest on it to the point that you can actually accumulate some wealth? What is the quality of life? And how do you measure it? And is it gone up or down? And one of the things that makes me sad is that, I grew up in I'm sure there were times, I was born in 76. So when I was born, we were at the tail end of the inflationary crisis with Jimmy Carter and everything else. And Reagan was coming into office. And so my youthful awakening was when Reagan was president. I remember Reagan being president. I remember Bush being president. I don't remember Jimmy Carter being president. So, I asked my mom, like, how did Jimmy Carter years compare to today? She goes, oh, Jimmy Carter years were just awful. Just awful. And she says it with such disdain, like it still left a mark on her soul. Now, part of me wonders if it was awful because she was younger, right? She had less resources. So when you're younger and you have less resources, it's harder to absorb an inflation increase. Whereas people who have more resources can absorb it longer until things normalize, because incomes eventually try to catch up, right? Because people will finally just say, I can't handle this anymore. Maybe high inflation will actually get people back into the workforce because you have to work. It's kind of a nasty way to do it, but there's nothing good that comes from any of this stuff. In fact, if the world was a perfect place, we wouldn't have price inflation at all. We'd have a stable currency that didn't cause inflation. Now I'm on a soapbox. I should stop. But yeah, lots of other increases are coming. Let's see. My grandfather was a Gandhi dancer. What is a Gandhi dancer? In the 20s and 30s for the railroads. Oh, here she says, Gandhi dancers were part of the team laying rail. Okay, gotcha. One person holding the spike, another laying the rail, and a guy with a big hammer. Grandpa was the guy with the hammer. Yeah. The only knack I have right now is the phlegm one. Lawn darts. Yes, lawn darts, Aaron. What is the Signal that you speak of? Okay. There is an app you can download on your smartphone called Signal. What Signal is Signal is a nonprofit organization that allows you to send fully encrypted text messages point to point, which means your cell phone carrier does not know what you're sending. If the government ever subpoenaed Signal, Signal does not know what you're sending. You may have heard in the news that some of the people who were indicted in the Oath Keepers that were indicted in the January 6th Capitol Hill thing, well, they said there were Signal messages. So the government has access to Signal messages, like any other piece of correspondence. If I put a letter in an envelope and send it to somebody, and I know that there's a big old wax seal on there, so I know nobody cracked it open and read it, well, it's the same thing. But if somebody intercepts the letter, you can still open the letter and read it. It's right there. So if I arrest you and I get access to your phone and you have Signal installed, I can read all your messages. There it is. But what it does do is it ups the level of difficulty for somebody who would be trying to intercept your text messages. It creates a layer of security between you and family members, because you're going to talk about things with family members that you wouldn't necessarily send through an email. Like, what's the Hulu password? It's like stupid stuff like that you should never send. You shouldn't send passwords through email or SMS. Signal allows you to do that. So like at work, one of the guys is like, oh my gosh, I need a credit card to purchase this data recovery training. I can literally just take a picture of my credit card and send it over Signal because it's encrypted. No one's going to intercept that picture. Photos you take with Signal are isolated on your device. So if an infection gets into your device and steals all your pictures, anything in your Signal pictures is encrypted. They can steal it all day long. It's encrypted. They can't read it. They can't look at it. It's not available. So Signal is a free app. They are a 501c3 charity, so they do ask for donations. I don't send them a ton of money. I send them about $25 a year. I use their app. I get peace of mind from it. We use it in our company between all of our employees. We have Signal chat groups that we use to keep the service center employees connected, and they can bitch about management because I'm not in the group. They didn't ever invite me, so I think they just complain about me there. I don't know. I feel a little left out. But anyway, that's all. It's good. It's good for people to have a place to vent where they're not, charged points. So anyway, that's Signal. Signal is an app you install on your phone, your tablet, your iPhone, your Android. It works across things. You can actually call through Signal. You can place an encrypted voice call, so you can use it to replace your telco. So you could use it to activate a phone over a wireless network without having a phone plan, for example. If you have an old cell phone, you install Signal on it, you hook it up to the Wi-Fi, it's now an IP phone. As long as it's on Wi-Fi, you can make phone calls for using Signal. So it's pretty impressive stuff. Alrighty. Morning, Janine. Good to have you. Wholesale cost, gosh, these little faces that pop up, I can't see anything when they pop up. Wholesale cost went up 10.3%. Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. All right. Thank you, Randy, for explaining Signal there. And Ronald. Oh, I didn't know Signal was available on PC. For real? I learned something new today. Signal app. I just want to check real quick and see if it actually is available for PC. That would be super handy to be able to have that on my computer as well. All right. Let's see. If Corona doesn't kill us, the starvation will. I don't think Corona's killing anybody really anymore. Honestly, I mean, I'm sure there are people. You got to be careful when you say things like that because there are people, I'm sure, who have family members who are sick. But the vast majority of people that are in the hospitals right now are in the hospital because of a comorbidity. They have some other immunocompromised issue that's causing the infection of anything would have put them in the hospital. But because the Omicron is so contagious, lots of people are getting it. I'm not gonna go there. I don't want to get banned on YouTube this week. But you all know what I'm thinking. All right, yeah, the video keeps buffering. I know the engineer hasn't fixed the wire in here yet, so we're on wireless still. I think that's genuinely the cause of what's going on. I'll see if I can't get that fixed for you by next week. Let's see. It feels weird sitting here watching the economy become the Weimar Republic 2.0. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion, wondering if I should go buy a wheelbarrow for the next time I need a loaf of bread. You know, it is interesting. I mean, I don't think we're quite... We could go that way. I think we still have a choice. We still have a choice. We've made a lot of mistakes. We still have a choice. Just depends on what we choose. Now, I don't have a whole lot of confidence in the people making the choices right now. I think that they're too smart by half. And what needs to happen just can't happen right now. We have too much debt. They need to raise the interest rates to like 7%. But they can't. It would bankrupt the U.S. government. They just can't. They could monetize it, I suppose, but then we have the same problem we have now. So that's the whole point. You have to stop monetizing, and you have to raise interest rates. You have to take the pain. The problem is the U.S. government can't take the pain. And for that matter, I don't think a lot of consumers are really eager to take the pain either. They'd rather take a little bit of pain. Like if you think inflation is bad, watch a 7% interest rate hike paired with ending all quantitative easing. So when they say they're going to taper, they're going to end quantitative easing, they're talking about cutting back the amount of money that they're printing every month. Not stopping printing or reversing it by taking money out of the economy. They're saying, we're just going to print slightly less this month and inject it in, and slightly less than that next month. And we're going in the right direction here. We don't want to have any sudden moves, that kind of thing. Well, they should have been doing this 3 years ago, and it should have been done by now, but it's not. Watch the market tank 20%, and then all these plans go out the window because no one wants the short-term pain. What's old is new again. Yeah, I think that's going to be the mantra here. I think we've been living in I don't know. How do you get out from under this? What's the way? How did Germany get out from under all the World War I debt? Why weren't reparations charged in World War II as a result? How does the U.S. government get out from under all the government debt? Like, wow, these are really, really tough questions that are probably above my pay grade, but it doesn't look good, right? Remember when Greece went to negative interest rates? Oh, yeah, I remember that. Microsoft will probably sell their chips at a premium price. Well, that's the thing. These chips for Microsoft aren't for sale. They're for use in their Azure data centers. They might sell them to other data centers, I suppose, as well. But they're not chips that you're going to buy as a consumer to run a computer. They're server processors. I heard some of the New England natural gas is coming from Russia on ships. Yeah. Well, I mean, when you don't have your own natural gas anymore, you got to get it somewhere, and we need natural gas, so we're going to buy it from whoever's selling it at the lowest market price, which happens to be Russia right now. Okay, Ronald. Carter, odd and even gas lines. Yep, I remember Carter. Carter also said just put on a sweater to stay warm in the winter. Yeah, I remember seeing the video clips of that. Maybe turn that thermostat a couple degrees, put on a sweater, yeah, and things like that. I mean, we got a little Baghdad Bob going on right now. There is no inflation in America. It's everything is fine. Wages are up. Unemployment is down. Everything is dandy. And it's just like, yes, all those things can be true at the same time that inflation is higher than the wage increases. Therefore, your net income is lower. We can subtract, So I don't know. I thought just Telegram had a desktop app. It might be Telegram. I'm not sure. But if the recipient is not using... Yes, this is true. Barbara points out if you're using Signal and you send a Signal message to somebody who is not also using Signal, it will arrive on their phone as a regular unencrypted text message. So it's actually one of the neat things about Signal is if you set it to be your primary SMS, your primary text messaging app, which you can do on all Android phones. On Apple phones, it's a little more difficult. You can't set it to be default. You just have to open it and use it. And people who send you iMessage stuff that are not on Signal will still come into your iMessage. So on Android, you can set up Signal to be your text message app, like everything. All SMS goes through Signal. On iPhone, you'll have a best of both worlds, two worlds kind of thing. But what is really surprising, is when you install Signal, Signal will go through your contacts and check for anybody else who's also using Signal. You would be amazed how many of your friends are already using Signal and you didn't even know it. And then you're kind of going to feel like the late guy to the party, like, oh, shoot. People that I wouldn't have expected to be using Signal. People, I mean, you think this is a bunch of right-wing nutters, right, using Signal to encrypt their text messages. No, it turns out regular, everyday Americans really like privacy. And an app that promises to give you privacy for the low, low price of $0, and will solicit donations because they are a 501c. You can actually deduct your donation from your taxes. So if you need a tax deduction, you can send it to Signal and deduct it. I mean, it's crazy. Let's see. The CDC said 75% of the people who have died from the virus had at least 4 other comorbidities. Yeah, I saw that report as well. Carter's years saw mortgage rates of up to 18%. Farmer loans were in the high teens, which contributed to the farm crisis. I was 11 when Reagan was inaugurated, so I remember the Carter years. Yeah, everything is interrelated. You can't. And this is what I don't understand. Like, I understand politicians have to do something, right? We have to do something about this. So there has to be the sense that you're taking action, definitive action, so that you can claim results or be assigned the blame. Actually, what everyone needs to do is just get out of the way. The market will fix this. The market will fix this. You just have to get out of the way and stop trying to force it. Drop the regulations. If somebody wants to build a pipeline, let them build a dang pipeline. If they go broke because no one wants to use their pipeline, well, then they go broke. If the railroad can't survive without oil tanker cars, well, guess what? Right now, we really probably wish we had a pipeline because of fuel prices, and we probably really wish we had a pipeline because train car availability. We want to move more containers. We don't want to have oil cars on those trains. We want to have more container cars so we can move those goods out of the ports. The market will fix this if we just get out of the way. And that's part. Doing nothing is not seen as doing something. So, the way that Trump managed this, his do something was getting rid of regulations. He was doing something. But he just let the market do everything else. Trump wasn't pushing stock prices. He was jawboning for sure, but he wasn't pushing stock prices higher. Trump wasn't creating new industries. Trump wasn't creating general acceptance of cryptocurrencies. In fact, I think Trump is against cryptocurrencies, actually. He just got out of the way. And even if he disagreed with something like a cryptocurrency, he may have jawboned against it, but he didn't pass a law saying it was illegal or restricted or regulated or anything nasty. If people want to put their money there and they lose their money, let that be a lesson to other people. If people put their money there and make a ton of money, well, let that be a lesson to other people. Investing in cutting-edge technology tends to be profitable at times and completely a loser at other times. That's why I warn you not to get involved with the junk coins if you can help it. At least not on a long-term basis. That's not a buy and hold kind of strategy. Germany invaded Poland to get out of the World War I. I'm glad somebody picked up the historical reference there. I was like, I don't know. Well, how did Germany get out of that debt? Well, they started another world war. How about that? So, yeah, and I really, 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 really hope that this doesn't go that way. That we don't end up in a ginormous war. I also hope we don't end up in a dystopian society. It's kind of, of all the times you choose to start watching The Handmaid's Tale, which is actually a really good show on Hulu. My wife had heard some negative things about it, like it's basically pornographic, and it's not. I mean, there is a gender element to it, and there is the role of society element to it, and it's very dystopian. But overall, as far as a streaming show goes, it's pretty clean. But they go shopping. The handmaids go shopping, and they go to the grocery stores, and they're like, "Praise be, we have tomatoes today," and it's like, "Oh wow!" And you see the display of tomatoes, and there's like 20 tomatoes total at the grocery store. And you have like chips it's like rationing. You have your ration chips that you turn in to get different things. And then you go to the grocery store in America, and the shelves aren't empty, but they're definitely faced. Faced is when you take it and you string, rather than having it stacked deep on the shelf, you face it on the front of the shelf to make it look full. Whereas if somebody grabs a box, there's just a hole now. There's nothing behind it. So we see a lot of facing happening in the grocery stores. One grocery store actually printed pictures of groceries to hang over the shelves to make the shelves look full when people walked into the store, even though there were no groceries in that aisle. I don't know where that happened, but I saw the picture online and I thought, oh my gosh, that's crazy. My bank sent me a tiny piece of paper in fine print that informed me interest rates can change at any time without warning. For your savings account? I hope you don't have an adjustable rate mortgage. That's going to be a problem. Oh, let's see here. Sorry, my feed jumped around here, so now I have to go back through again. There we go. There's the CDC. I stopped marking things as like. I usually click like after I see the comment. So if I click like on your comment, it's because I saw it and either covered it or moved on. But there's a bunch of them I didn't mark when I went over them. All right. Inflation, that's how we got out of debt. You'd think that, Janine, but the amount of inflation that we would need. So we have, $23 trillion in debt. Let's just say, for simple math's sake, we had a 10% inflation rate this year over year. So we got rid of $2 trillion of it. We'll get that. We'll put that back on the credit card this year. If you're going to inflate your way out of debt, you have to stop spending, and that's the problem. We don't stop spending. What do we think about the relationship between Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush? Why did George H.W. Bush despise Ronald Reagan as well as being an inferior conservative Republican to him too? Why did George H.W. Bush not like being under him? Well, I will be first to admit here that while I was alive in the Reagan years, I was not very politically attuned. In fact, this thought never occurred to me that they bristled with each other. But what I do now is I'm framing it in terms of like current situation. Not everybody agrees on everything politically, and not everybody's goals are the same. So when you become president of the United States, I think for a lot of the people that become president, that's the goal. Like, now I'm the president. I win. It's the highest political elected office you can achieve. It's like being the last survivor on the island. I win. But now the consolation prize is for 4 years, you have to run things. And there are definitely perks to doing that. But there are pitfalls as well. And I think, unfortunately, the Biden administration has found many of the pitfalls. And Trump found his fair share of pitfalls as well. But everything was so preoccupied. This is what blows my mind. Like Donald Trump's approval rating, Joe Biden is now below Donald Trump's approval rating in a Quinnipiac poll. So it's not like the Fox News poll or the World Net Daily poll or anything. This is Quinnipiac. He's below where Trump was at the same time in his presidency. When you look back on what Trump was dealing with at that time, literally the media was calling him a Russian spy. That he stole the election from Hillary Clinton. He was a Russian spy. It was collusion, all this stuff, all these investigations. He was dealing with all of that day after day after day in every media outlet. Just a carpet bombing of negative coverage. Joe Biden, while there is negative coverage, I think no one would say it's carpet bombing. A piece here, a piece there, so that news organizations can say they covered it, but nothing like what Trump would be getting. And, we can have that debate all day long about media bias or whatever else. But the thing is, what I'm saying is, his numbers are lower without that constant drumbeat. In fact, some would say it's the opposite, that you have people kind of fluffing him up a little bit, but his poll numbers are lower. Why is that? I don't think that the country is suddenly, anti-Joe Biden. A lot of people voted for Joe Biden. So even the people that voted for Joe Biden in the Quinnipiac poll are falling off. Even Democrats are falling off. Why is that? I heard a quote yesterday that said, when someone loses their job, that's a recession. And when you lose your job, that's a depression. When you see the results of macroeconomic policy in your daily life, when it filters down to that level, and it is as monumentally impactful as 9% inflation is, there's going to be political fallout from that. It's unavoidable. So, yeah, I don't know, honestly, why they would despise each other so much. My only thought is that perhaps Reagan was more conservative than George W. Bush was. There's a huge temptation. And what can you control in your life, right? So the theory of complex systems. I can control when I get out of bed in the morning. Therefore, I can control what I eat for breakfast. Therefore, I can control where I shop to get the food that I eat for breakfast. Therefore, I can look for coupons to use where I shop to save money on the food that I'm going to eat for breakfast and future breakfasts. If I only could reduce the cost of breakfast by 9%, I would negate the entire inflation. Is there any way that I could negate inflation by adjusting this by 9%? Well, perhaps I buy like the Walmart eggs instead of buying the cage-free Fancy Foo eggs, and those are 9% cheaper. Wow, look at that. I just offset inflation on my breakfast. Aren't I smart? If everybody just bought the Walmart eggs instead of the Woofy Woo cage-free eggs, the whole world would be a better place. Maybe we could convince people. Maybe we could incentivize people. Not like BNSF incentivizes people, but like tax credits. Maybe we could engineer this to make sure that people will see there's a clear reason to choose the choice that we all know is better. But they may not. And so we need to educate them. So it's very easy to go from what you can control to controlling other people. It's really easy. So politicians that don't fall into that trap, I applaud you. Because the temptation to go down that road, not that you're a bad person if you go down that road, there are people who go down that road that definitely want to help people. And they think that, God, these people are just so stupid. If only they did that, they'd be rich. If only you would have listened to me in 2010 and bought $10 worth of Bitcoin, you'd be rich. I didn't do it either. But you'd be rich, So it's a temptation, right? So I don't know that, maybe George W. Bush believed more in the ability to tweak systems rather than just getting rid of the system, that basically we're too smart by half. So rather than telling you what you want to eat for breakfast, I'm going to let you choose what you eat for breakfast. We're going to get rid of the subsidies. and the egg industry is going to wail, and we're going to get rid of all the commercial messaging campaigns that we're paying to air on TV and radio from .gov agency this and .gov agency that, bringing you this important message on how to be a good father. Those are great. Like, play with your children, be a good dad. Okay. So anyway, get rid of all that, save all that money, put all that back in the treasury, and then let people buy whatever eggs they want to buy. And the people who feel that it's important to buy frou-frou cage-free eggs because the chickens are happier, they will buy those eggs. And the people who want to buy the cheapest eggs will buy the Walmart eggs. And everybody will have a fair exchange of goods and services that they are satisfied with. Why are we imposing a 10% egg savings on people that don't want it, that don't need it, that maybe are buying the cage-free eggs anyway? It just doesn't make any sense for the government to be involved in your egg choice. But there are so many things the government is involved in that doesn't make sense for the government to be involved in. That if, Reagan was a very much let's get the government out of the way kind of situation. And there was just as much political shenanigans. There was they recalculated the way interest rates, or the way that inflation was calculated in 1982. Not a coincidence. Wow, how do we make things look way better than Jimmy Carter? Let's change the math. So, politicians be politicianing, right? But there were the do. What are we going to do is we got out of the way. I don't think Donald Trump is like a super conservative. No, he's really not. He's not a conservative. Like, by the definition of a libertarian conservative, he is not a conservative. But he understands efficiencies from business experience. And he knows he's had to deal with all these bureaucracies. He knows if they just got out of the way, things would get done faster. So get out of the way. Get it done. I think that's the main difference between the two of them. And that would be like a great example of the difference between Trump and Mike Pence. I don't think Mike Pence is going to break his back to get rid of government agencies. Look at what happened in Virginia this weekend. Oh my gosh. The new state attorney general took office and fired the entire civil rights division. All of the attorneys, all the staff, cleaned house, you're all terminated. And then he's going to personally review previous cases that were not prosecuted by that division. The state legislature's up in arms, like, we gave special powers to that division to be able to do things that other divisions can't do. Well, that division doesn't exist anymore, apparently. There's no attorneys and no staff. And we're going to go back and review cases that were not prosecuted, i.e., is the law back in Virginia? Interesting. Interesting to see what happens to crime rates when you start actually prosecuting crime. Interesting. So is Youngkin a conservative? I don't know. Is he more conservative than what was there before? Yeah, probably. But this was the Attorney General. This wasn't Youngkin. So it's almost like there's a team now, right? And that's the thing that I think was missing from the Trump presidency. It was Trump, 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 Trump. And everybody he surrounded himself with either stabbed him in the back, proved to be inadequate to the task, or ended up there for a long time. Unfortunately, that third category was very small. So, yeah, he didn't have a team of people to surround himself with that he could trust to do what he needed to have done. And instead, everything was opposition the entire way. And look at how much he still got done. Imagine if he would have had a Reagan-esque, situation. Or if he would have had a team of people around him like it appears Youngkin does in Virginia. When do you think Russia will actually go into the Ukraine? I'm sure they're coordinating with China. I don't know. Do they actually have to go into the Ukraine? They're busy taking, I almost want to call it Kazakhstan, but that's not right. Whatever the K-Stan place was that had all the riots. Russian troops went in and protected the government. So they were a little busy right then. So we had some peace talky kind of things with NATO. I honestly don't know when Russia's going to go into the Ukraine, and honestly, I'm not sure I care all that much. Again, complex systems. I'm sure there's some very legitimate geopolitical reasons that the Ukraine should be defended. If that's the case, defend the Ukraine. If Russia's going to go into Ukraine, let's put American troops in the Ukraine and American jet fighters and American artillery pieces and howitzers and whatever the hell else we have, and let's have a World War II style ground war. Would it be a good refresher course for these kids who have never seen anything like that before? They've just been trained in urban guerrilla warfare and anti-terrorism action. Russia would not come in if we did that. Now, would we have to stay there forever? Ugh. Would the Ukraine pay us to stay there forever? A little Trumpism there? They might. Do we really want to be the world's mercenary? No, but there is a cost if they want us to maintain peace. Maybe we create a plan that says we're going to stay for this long, and then in that period of time we're going to train your people up and sell you all the equipment so that you can defend yourselves. And then we're going to leave. But we're going to make sure that, if there's a geopolitical reason that Russia can't get in there, aside from, anything good for Russia is bad for us. A lot of people don't realize that Vladimir Putin wrote his dissertation on restoring the Soviet Republic, basically. Restoring Moscow and the Soviet Union. And so any opportunity he has to grab a territory and reintegrate them into greater Russia, he's going to do that. So you're right to be afraid. This would definitely fall within his purview of what he normally does, but I don't know when it's going to happen. Oh, gotcha. Paul says Reagan was an outsider and Bush was more of what we would have called a neoconservative these days. All right, let's see. Aaron says, I bought the cheap Walmart eggs today. I'm going to make lemon cake later. No frou-frou cage-free eggs for you. Your chickens are angry chickens. All righty. Signal was created with OTF, Open Technology Fund. Thank you, Hillary. If it was, I'm not above giving credit to somebody for, I don't think Hillary personally did that, but what is the OTF, the Open Technology Fund? Let me take a look at that. Open Technology Fund history. Let's take a look. According to them, decline. Our founding, about a decade ago, the U.S. Congress recognized Radio Free Asia, broadcasting governors, blah, blah, blah. OTF was created in 2012 as a program of Radio Free Asia, broadcasting over the radio and then the internet throughout China, Tibet. RFA knew the challenge and importance of providing independent media content. In terms of funding, OTF is still sustained by annual grants from USAGM. Our funding still originates from yearly U.S. congressional appropriations for state foreign operations related programs. So, I don't know, did they create Signal? Let's see. Who created Signal? So I just don't want to take not that I don't trust you, I just want to know. Who created the Signal app? Many say the question, Signal was developed by Matthew Rosenfeld, which is also known by the pseudonym whatever. He's an expert in the area of computer security. He's also known for his alleged hacker record. Another important factor is originally the company Open Whisper Systems was not his first business action. Okay. Before 2015, Signal was known as Text Secure. Okay, Signal evolution. The encryption algorithm was perfected by 2013. The company was bought by nothing more and nothing less than Twitter. Objective achieved by 2015. While the application not only allowed sending messages, but the app also allowed voice messages. This allowed sharing. Name change. At this moment, the application begins to demonstrate its strengths in terms of privacy and diversity of functions. For the year 2015, Text Secure became Signal, the famous application on the same level as an instant messaging app like Telegram or WhatsApp. And that, to this day, its encryption protocol is considered to be the most powerful on the market. Therefore, its users will be able to share documents, photos, and videos and information without fear of being exposed to the public. Something important to remember is that both people must have Signal to be able to communicate. And if you're going to do encrypted, this is your best choice. So, I didn't understand this thing that Twitter bought it. So anyway, there could have been some funding from this open technology thing, and I don't know what Hillary's connection to that is. You know what? If Hillary Clinton gave us signal, thank you, Hillary Clinton. I appreciate it. Thank you. It's not hard. You can say thank you because it's good stuff. All right, guys. Whew. I feel like we've gone for too long, or longer than normal. How long have we been on so far? A little over an hour here. But we're going to have to wrap it up here. I believe I might have cinnamon rolls waiting for me at home, so I want to make sure I get home while those are still warm. Even though I put on like 13 pounds this year. I got to get the eating under control. I shoveled a lot of snow yesterday, though. I shoveled driveways, and today I'm kind of a little sore, but it worked out. I was like, I need the workout. Someone's like, do you want to use the snow thrower? I'm like, no, I need the workout. I'm like, oh. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us on the program. As always, please make sure, especially with the Main Compute This program, that you like it and share it with your friends. One of the ways that we are avoiding many of the price increases that other retailers are imposing, or you're seeing through shortages of product, is by reducing our advertising budget. We, starting in February, we are going to be cutting all TV ads out of the budget until at least June, while we figure out what's going to happen next. It's a smart marketing budget. We need to make new commercials anyway. We can use the same budget from the airing of the old commercials to fund the creation of the new commercials. We are aggressively reviewing a lot of things inside of Schrock to make sure we can continue to provide services at the level that we provide them. A lot of that is going to be additional automation. We're hiring a .NET developer right now. If you happen to know anybody who is looking for a job as a .NET developer, we are hiring right now. We have some work to do on some of our core applications, Secure Updater, Drive Advisor. We need to completely re-engineer Safe Upgrade, because now we Safe Upgrade for Windows 10 or Safe Upgrade for Windows 11. Who knows? So when it was written, it was assumed there was only going to be one dominant Microsoft OS, because that's how Microsoft had always done it in the past. Oops. So anyway, your recommendations, your reviews on Google and on Facebook and on Yelp, especially Yelp. If you're active on Yelp, please review us on Yelp. Those reviews go just worlds toward helping our business attract new customers so that we can protect new people. We're getting a lot of people that are coming in the door to buy computers that we've never seen before. They've never heard the radio show. They don't know anything about us. And it's literally, I was talking to Roger before the show, it's impossible to get them up to speed on everything in that short time we have to interact with them about, why you need to use Sophos and why Secure Updater is great, and what Drive Advisor is, and why modular computers and our solid state laptops are better, the things that we do to them to make them better. It takes too much time to do that in one person, and then they're just like, forget it, I don't want the thing, So, we're going to have to remarket to these people over time. But when you recommend someone to us and bring them in, and they come in the front door knowing that their friend or their family member got great service, that means the world to us. There's no better recommendation we can get, no better way that we could offset a shortening in our TV advertising budget. We're going to stay heavy on the radio, but we're going to cut the TV. TV's extraordinarily expensive. And honestly, I don't know how many people are watching it. We advertise during the newscasts primarily because we figure if anyone is watching broadcast TV, that's when they're watching it. But we didn't see a huge gain in revenues from when we started TV ads. So now we're going to see when radio only how we do there. So anyway, your recommendations mean a lot, and I very much appreciate you choosing Schrock Innovations when you need something, whether that's a router or a computer or a repair service or anything like that for your home or business. Thanks a lot, guys. We appreciate you being here. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you again next Sunday.